Tiffanie Kellog. I love to help people make money, save time, and have some fun. And today we're going to have a little conversation about how we can continue working towards whatever it is that you're working towards. I want to continue to make things happen. Though with everything that's going on in the world right now, some of us are getting a little bit lost when we're trying to figure out what's going on. So I was thinking, who could I share from my network that's amazing that would really be able to help y'all out with things that are happening in this world? I'm like, oh, my vision coach would be phenomenal. She's a perfect person to help us in this situation. So I'm joining here today. Say hi, Lois.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
We're so glad to have you with us. So let me tell you a little bit about her. She's an international vision coach and the founder of True North Visionaries. She has guided leaders around the world through her proven process to close the gap between where they are and where they want to be. Her methodology helps people clarify and refine their vision and then align it with the roadmap to get there. And then we'll talk about that in just a minute, the roadmap, the compass, how we're going to get where we want to go with this huge roadblock that's now in our way. She's worked with individuals and organizations in the U.S., Canada, Europe, Australia, Asia, and she shared her expertise on a global stage. And for those of you here that know me, and I have that massive vision, both in what I want to create as well as in how long it is, she actually helped me create that vision and really give me the clarity of here's what's going on, here's what we're working towards. And I'll have to share with you, people are like freaking out and they're like, how are you? And I'm like, I'm fine. I'm like, things are good because I know where I'm headed and this is just a little bump along the way. So talking about that little bump, we wanted to open up the conversation today talking about this idea of having a vision and how it's your compass. Did I get that right? Okay.
Yes.
Talk to us.
Okay, I love it. So, and Tiffanie, thank you so much for having me on today. I'm so excited to be with you. I'm so excited to be sharing this with everyone who's joining us today. And again, just hopefully help us get a little bit of a refreshing perspective when we're so focused on what's happening in the short term. That can be really, really helpful just to take that step back. So as we sort of think about this idea of a compass and allowing us to navigate in a more effective way, I always think about, if you take your phone out, right, and you want to get somewhere, what is Google Maps going to ask you, right? If you want to get somewhere, what's the first thing Google Maps is going to ask you?
Where are you?
Right, where are you going? And even before that, it asks you, where are you now? So even before Google Maps is going to be able to direct you to where you want to go, it's really can only navigate if it understands where you're starting from, where that starting point is. So I think sometimes, especially nowadays, we feel like, oh gosh, I don't even know what's going on. There's so much changing, but this is actually the perfect time to really sort of take stock of where you are now, right? Personally, professionally, financially, with your relationships, if spirituality resonates with you, where all those things sort of are for you right now, that can be a really, really critical time for us to be able to step back and sort of do some of that thinking, right? Where are we now? Where really am I in my world, in my life right now? And then once we really kind of have that grasp about where we are now and taking stock of our current situation, then we can start to, just like you said, really kind of say, okay, where are we going? Where do we want that to be? And once we sort of plug that destination into our GPS, then it, just like driving, we've all hit roadblocks and we've all hit detours and traffic jams and all those things. And you don't just give up and go home. You just say, all right, well, I'm confident that my GPS can recalibrate and recalculate my route. And so it gives you, having that GPS in your car. I mean, I have the worst sense of direction known to mankind. So I've lived in San Diego for almost 3 years now, and I use my GPS for every single place I go, except for the dog park, which is 5 minutes away. So the idea of being able to have that inner sense of confidence that you have your GPS and it is in place. And absolutely, we know we're going to hit roadblocks, whether we expected this specific one. No, but there are all different kinds of roadblocks that we can hit. And when we do, then again, we're not just going to give up and say, you know what, never mind. We're going to say, all right, I've got this in place. It is my compass. And now it's time for me to navigate around the obstacle. And one of my other visionaries that I was speaking with last week, he has had his business has been massively impacted by coronavirus. And a lot of people in his position, because his business is really focused on security and staffing events. Well, we all know events have dried up. And so, he could have taken that stance of, this is all happening to me. What am I going to do? And he's found that now there are so many opportunities of other industries that, no one can be there, but now they need to protect their inventory, for instance. And now they can staff that. So he's really finding a way to sort of, again, recalculate and be really creative and innovative so that he can still be providing the service that he wants to provide. And when we were talking about this idea of when you have your vision in place, it's not a moving target. Your destination remains the same, but you're always changing course. You want to stay nimble and flexible. You have to be able to pivot when you need to. And he said, you know, in this time, we also have to remember that the vehicle itself might change, right? It might change altogether, or it might change a little bit. You might change the interior, you might change the exterior, you might change the paint color. But really, at the end of the day, it's giving ourselves that permission and freedom to say, you know, I can change the route. I can change the path guided by this compass of my vision. And at the same time, maybe I need to switch up the vehicle for short term, for the long term, and I can do that on the way to achieving my vision. But oftentimes I find when people are most feeling like they're most pulled in all these different directions and most sort of overwhelmed, it's because their path is always changing, but their destination is always changing too. Right. And if you think about that, you just can't navigate that way. If you were to every 5 seconds be putting a new destination in Google, it at some point would just say, like, it would just sort of freeze and it wouldn't be able to keep up. So that's what I think about when I think of that idea of our vision as our compass to guide us through. And that, you know, having clarity around your vision isn't just about, oh, it's a silver bullet, and now that I have a vision, everything's perfect and great and wonderful and fantastic and I love it. The idea is that, you know, one of my mentors always used to say, as a visionary, it's not about getting rid of problems, or not that once you have a clear vision, you won't have issues. It's that you have better and better problems instead of the same problem again and again and again, right? And I love that. I love that idea. So it's the idea that, again, the vision isn't about making everything fine and perfect and no big deal, everything's okay all the time, but it's saying life is a series of waves, and our vision helps us ride those waves instead of trying to, you know, stop the wave or to get bowled over by the wave. We're able to sort of have that ability to ride it.
And so what if somebody's sitting there thinking, but this is, you know, I can't go anywhere, you know, whether it's I've lost my job or I don't have any clients right now, or, you know, what do you say to somebody that feels like that this is an unsurmountable, like they can't get around this?
Right. Insurmountable. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things, I was speaking with another visionary that I work with. He lives in Charlotte, and I was talking with him yesterday, and he, you know, he is in a space and time where right now he's so focused on what he's doing, and, you know, everyone around him is sort of in that mode of reacting. And one of the ththings that I mentioned was just, you know, literally, even if it's just you're just reaching out to one person in your phone that you haven't talked to in a while, a week, and not to get a referral, not to start a business conversation, but just to check in on how they're doing. I think that brings that perspective, gives us a little bit more of an even playing field in terms of all the different perspectives out there, and not feeling like the sky is falling from everyone. Because if everyone around you is, you know, having that perspective, you get sucked into the whirlpool so easily. And I think just sort of diversifying the perspectives that you're hearing can be so powerful. So I think that is one piece of it. Just being able to sort of reach out to your network in a different way and see how different people are handling it. Because I've heard, also connected with another visionary of mine who has a company here in San Diego. Pardon me, I just texted him to see how he was doing, and he couldn't stop talking about how proud he was of his team and the way they're pulling together, and the way that their culture that they've built over the last several years is just really, really doing what it's meant to do, which is to allow them to sort of navigate through this tough time. So I think that's a piece of it, right? Helping get a diversity of perspectives and opinions from everyone. I mean, also is such an amazing chance just to reach out to people and connect with people that we haven't in a long time. And then the other piece of it is thinking about how we can just imagine what our vision is for the day. And I know this is like kind of a funny concept, right? Because a lot of times we think about vision as long-term, right? Like a 5-year vision or a 3-year vision. And oftentimes when I mention this concept of a daily vision, people give me this sort of confused look, right? And the way that I really started connecting with short-term visioning was that earlier in my career, I sort of set out to have this amazing sort of sabbatical. And this is when I was working for a food company, and I went off to the West Coast and traveled around for 2 months meeting new artists and food producers. Well, I had come up with this whole idea. And so no one was telling me what success meant. And so I'm a perfectionist. And so every day of that entire trip, I felt like a failure because I wasn't connecting with every single olive oil producer I could, or tasting every single vinegar at the farmer's market, right? I just kept feeling like a failure. And I remember thinking to myself, I am unwilling to be having this incredible experience and feel like a failure every day. And so, oh, that's my puppy, everyone. Let me just take the squeaky toy away from her. Pardon me.
No problem. While we're talking about puppies, my puppy can come on and say hello, because apparently now you have to have the puppies on the webinars. And hey, everybody that is popped on and is with us as we go through this. If you have any questions for Lois, just let me know. You can put them in the chat box, and as we kind of go in between conversations, I will ask her questions. So glad to have you with us. First I showed my dog to everybody, and then I was saying hi to all of our participants that we have here. I know you met Laura Giancarlo when you were down here.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
I don't know if you've met any of the other people. Well, Michelle Bocchini, is she one of your?
You know, I can't see everyone. I see that there's, I just can't see everyone, but I'm so glad
it should say attendees instead of panelists, maybe. If you have it up, if you click on participants, or maybe because I'm the host, I can see it. And you can't.
I think so, yeah, I think so.
All right. So I just let everybody know if they have any questions, they can put them in the chat box, and I'll check in every once in a while and see how we're going.
Love it.
Okay. So we were talking about the daily vision.
Yes. So I was in this space where I was just saying to myself, I'm unwilling to, be in this situation, be in this opportunity to have this amazing experience and feel like a failure every day. And so I just started to write a vision for my day. And I said, you know what, no one else is defining success for me. If I define success as everything is done and all the work is done and I've done enough, I'm never going to feel successful a day in my life, because the work is never done and it's never enough. And so I just remember my first one just said, because I was sort of in a challenging place. I wasn't feeling so great about things. And I remember my first one was just, I'm getting into bed and I feel a little bit better than I did when I woke up this morning. And, you might think that's one sentence, really, that's a vision. But I always say, a one sentence daily vision can be just as powerful as a 12-page vision for every aspect of your life 5 years from today. So even just me thinking about that throughout the day, I could just beat that drum. I know our good friend Tom Fleming talks about beating the drum, right? And so it allowed me to sort of have that in the back of my mind and think about what decisions can I make that get me closer to that rather than farther away from that. And it really helped me shift my definition of success from everything's done and I've got it all finished to saying I just feel a little bit better, right? And then later on, maybe it's that I made a really great connection or introduced somebody else to somebody else. I was able to be that connection point. And that helped me recalibrate my definition of success. And so I think right now in our lives, it can feel like I'm only going to feel okay. I'm only going to feel successful if I know every single new update and I'm doing everything I can and I'm staying perfectly safe and I'm washing my hands every 5 seconds and I'm not doing anything I shouldn't be doing, but I am still connected to the land. Like it just can be incredibly overwhelming. And so if you are starting to feel like every day you're just not getting where you want, or you're not doing what you want, or you keep feeling that in that failure mode, it might be because you're sort of connecting your vision of success that day to something that is external, right? All these outside circumstances we can't control, or it might be something that is sort of unrealistic for that day. You're not going to be able to organize every single room in your house and exercise and start to bake all these things that you want, start to learn how to bake bread or whatever. Like, it's okay that you can't do all of that in one day. And so when you think about the concept of a daily vision, it helps you sort of reclaim what success means to you on that day. And if you're having a really rough day, it is completely valid to say, I'm getting into bed tonight and I feel just a little bit better than I did when I woke up, right? It doesn't have to be rainbows and butterflies. This is the best day ever and I feel amazing and I'm totally fine with all this. That's not realistic right now, and that's okay. So I think that is a really amazing tool to have in your back pocket. I've written daily visions on the back of receipts, on napkins, right? It doesn't have to be some long, lengthy thing. It can be a sentence. It can be a short paragraph. It can be, scribbled on whatever you have sitting in front of you. And it just gives you a little bit more of that grounding. And then it really creates this virtuous cycle, because at the end of the day, you say, you know what, I did feel a little bit better than I did when I woke up. I can do this. I can make my vision a reality. And then the next morning, you might have the same one, or you might have a little different one, and then you make that a reality by the end of the day. And then again, it just sort of builds those visioning muscles, builds that visioning confidence. And before you know it, you're going to really feel like I have the ability to create my future.
So when you're creating this daily vision, is it I create the night before my vision for the next day, I create the vision when I get up in the morning, or, oh crap, this is not going well, let me create it right now moving forward? Like, when do you create this daily vision?
I love it. Yeah, no, it's such a good question. So I when I've done them, I often do them in the morning for that night. But I'm also somebody who just knows my patterns, and I am somebody who likes to, if I like try to meditate in the morning, I fall asleep. So that's not the best. So some people have their morning routine and it's like perfect and they're journaling and meditating. I can't do that in the morning or else I fall back to sleep. So it can also be really powerful to do it at night, like you said, for the next day. So you can always do that, but you always think about writing that daily vision, in the present tense, like it has already happened. And so whether you're writing it that morning or the night before, you're going to be writing it like it is already the following evening or that evening. So that's that piece of it. And then the other thing is, like you said, can you just kind of take this out at any time? Absolutely. Absolutely. So there was a mentor of mine in Australia that several years ago, I was in Australia to work with some amazing visionaries, and I met up with this mentor, and he had a really challenging phone call coming up. And he was talking to me and he was saying, I'm really nervous. The person I'm having this conversation with is really abrasive and I don't know how it's going to go. And I'm really feeling anxious about it. And I said to him, well, what would be your definition of success for that phone call that has nothing to do with the other person? And he was like, what? That doesn't even make any sense. A conversation is between two people. How can I, right? Like that just doesn't compute. But I asked him the question again, and he kind of started to grok this idea, because I said, well, let me just ask you again, right? How would you define success for this phone call that has nothing to do with the person on the other end of the line? And he said, you know what? If I could show up and be professional during that whole conversation when I really want to rip this person's head off, right? Or if I can get through this conversation, without sort of letting my temper get the best of me, or without letting my defensiveness get the best of me, then that would be success. That would be a successful phone call. So we talked a little bit through it a little bit more, and a few other ways that sort of he would know that he had had a successful conversation. And by the end of it, I said, so how do you feel now? And he said, it feels great, because no matter what happens on the other end of the line, I know that I can feel successful, and this other person can't sort of take that away from me. And so what I want to say to everyone here is that, we all have challenging conversations that have to happen during this time. Maybe you have to, right? Maybe you're the person who has to maybe make some really challenging decisions with employees or team members, or maybe you have to make the hard decision with somebody that you've hired to work with you, and maybe that, relationship needs to change or shift right now. Maybe it's with your family, your friends, whatever that might be. And so even if it's just a conversation, you absolutely can have a vision for what that looks like. And again, it's remembering that the vision is all about you. It's not about the other person. So we can't control what they're going to say, how they're going to react, how they're going to show up. We can absolutely really, really think through and show up in a way that we can make happen. Now, again, it's really important to keep it realistic, right? I always say, I'll help you write a vision. I'm not going to help you write a fantasy. So we don't want to say, I got off the phone and I feel amazing and now we're best buds and we have perfect communication. That's probably not going to happen. But again, just being able to say, I was able to really keep my cool during this conversation and show up in a professional way that I'm proud of. Holy moly, those two sentences that you might have scribbled down on the back of a receipt somewhere can be incredibly powerful. And so absolutely, short-term visioning is something that you could always have in your back pocket. You can use it any time that you might need to.
So I'd love to, if any of the people here on the Zoom call want to put maybe what you would be thinking could be your personal vision for the day in the chat box, so we could see that and share that. Can you give us, I know you've thrown a couple out there, can you give us a couple other examples of, and they don't necessarily, like right now we're in, virus mindset, and they could be included for that, but people may watch this recording years in the future and they're not in that mindset, so it could just be generic ones as well.
Absolutely. So one that I have been thinking about recently is this idea of, I'm winding down to the day, and today I'm proud that I looked for the silver lining and I found it. Or I am getting into bed and I'm so proud that I finally got XYZ off my desk. I also showed up, early for every one of my meetings, and I feel like I'm happily eating, on a full stomach because I actually made dinner tonight. So you'll see that there's a few different components to these, right? So it's written in the present tense like it's already happened. It's not about anyone else. It's about me. And it's about the evidence that I've gotten to where I wanted to go, right? So my belly is full because I had a really healthy, nourishing dinner. You're not just, it's a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for, salient. You can kind of feel it a little bit more than, I had a salad for dinner. Okay, great. But I feel this way, I feel healthy, I feel nourished, I feel more energetic, whatever. You can kind of imagine yourself having those feelings. And so it makes that vision stay alive with you all day. And then the other piece of, you'll also notice that some things were really specific and some things were kind of more vague. Like I showed up early, right? Did I show up 1 minute early, an hour early? It doesn't say. But for me, a big part of my long-term vision is showing up early. That's definitely something I've always had a challenge with. And I know that part of my own definition of success is moving into a space where I am showing up before, so I'm not rushing in, and we all know that feeling, right? And so for me, just saying in my daily vision, I'm so, I'm proud that I showed up early for my meetings. That is a motivational enough for me to be able to just say, hey, even if I get in the car 2 minutes early, right, and I show up 60 seconds early to that meeting, I can still hit my definition of success. So again, it's not about being unrealistic that you're going to do all the things in the perfect way all day. That doesn't resonate with me because I know that's not true, right? And if you are really having a tough day, you don't want to kind of skip a bunch of steps and again say by the end of the day you feel perfect and great and hunky-dory. You want to just allow yourself to have that incremental progress. So it's all those different pieces. But somebody could say, oh, my daily vision I've had people talk to me and say, I love this concept of daily vision, but when I try to do it, it becomes a laundry list. Like I'm getting into bed and I went to the grocery store, I checked these three things off my list, I made 2 calls, I did this thing, right? It's just a list. And so what I always say is, I want the evidence. Show me the evidence. Don't tell me, show me, right? So I feel so relieved, again, that I feel so accomplished that I can toss that list of names that I had to call and toss them in the recycling bin, right? That gives me an image, that gives me a mental picture, and that helps me understand the feeling, the perspective, the mindset that you want to cultivate throughout the day. And that is where the power of a daily vision comes in. So if you're somebody who is experimenting with this and maybe tries one today or tries one tomorrow, and you feel like you're getting into that laundry list habit, I would limit yourself to 1 sentence for your daily vision. 1 sentence. And then it really challenges you to really think about how can I define success today through a mindset perspective, or whatever it might be that I want to cultivate throughout the day. And then that is really going to help guide your decision. So it's something that's with you throughout the day. You can sort of really viscerally imagine it because maybe you have some of that evidence, the full stomach, feeling relieved, I getting into bed tonight and I loved being able to be the first one at the meeting and set everything up before everyone got there. You can picture that, right? And so it becomes more powerful. And so all those different things can make a daily vision really, really helpful. But the main thing is always to remember that it is a muscle. Visioning is a muscle. So when you're first starting to use it, it can feel like you gotta, work it out a little. It might be a little sore, might be a little tough. But, imagine if you did this for a few days, you'd be like whipping those things out like nobody's business. So the last thing I'll say about daily vision, and of course, if there's any other questions, I could talk about it forever. But one of the things is that, when we think about vision, short-term vision, long-term vision, however you want to think about it, I always say, we want our vision to pull us forward in a positive way, not push us in a negative or overwhelming or sort of tension-filled way. So sometimes people will put something in their vision that they feel like should be in their vision, but it feels like tension, overwhelm, and pressure. For instance, they're having a really challenging time and they feel like I should be super positive and happy by the end of the day because everyone knows me as Mr. or Miss Positivity, and I should be able to get over this. I should be okay with this. I should. And as my mom always said, don't should all over yourself, right? So it's the idea of we don't want to make it something that we don't feel like we can truly connect back with and make happen. So as you're thinking about all these things and knowing that it's a muscle that we have to build, it's not about striving for the perfect daily vision. It's just saying, you know what, let me give this a try. Let me give this a whirl. And then from there, you're going to get stronger and stronger and stronger.
Cool. Awesome. Now, in that, you were sharing, you a couple times mentioned the definition of success, so shifting the definition of success. Because I think that's probably something that's going to be really important for us. And I know you told us a little bit about it, but could you expand upon that idea that you'd like to talk about?
Definitely. So I think I want to bring another sort of idea to the table, which connects back to this definition of success, and that's what I call the goalkeeper principle. And a lot of times people are focused on sort of old school traditional goal setting, right? And especially in a time like this where we feel like we have to sort of, maybe change the goalposts a little, we're feeling, okay, we have to set some new goals, right? And again, maybe some of those goals are a little bit overzealous because we feel like we're going to, oh gosh, my puppy, man, she's like playing hockey with her bone over here. All right. We'll see. If she keeps going, I'm just gonna
having a puppy.
Yeah, I'm gonna get my earphones so that you guys don't have to deal with this, and I'll be right back. But in the meantime, yes, I would let, if anyone wants to pop a potential daily vision in the chat box or any other questions come up, I'll be right back. Thanks for your patience.
All right. And that just gives us another Callie break. Because apparently that's what everybody's doing now, is showing their dog on Zoom. Her tongue is sticking out because she has no teeth. So yeah, to me, this idea of daily vision is so powerful. And what a great way to set yourself up for success for that day. Because
Totally.
it's very easy to, like, if I'm looking at my calendar, what I should have been doing or what was on my schedule for this week, you know, half a dozen speaking engagements and this and that. And now, like, my calendar is all, so banana, orange, or sorry, yellow is the color that I use for webinars, Zoom calls, things of that nature. And typically I have 2 or 3 yellow appointments a week. And right now I'm at, the whole thing's just about yellow.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So exactly. And I think just like you said, it is this idea of everything shifting. And so we can be flexible and shift with it. And again, it's that same thing. I mean, part of my vision was learning to surf. I've gone like twice, so I'm not going to say that I've learned to surf, but I'm learning. And it really was such a good reminder of just that, what it truly feels like to, you know, not get the timing right and to have the wave just bowl you over or crash down on you, and what it feels like to just ride it. Now that wave is, you know, everyone is experiencing the same wave, right? But some people are able to ride it and some people are bowled over and some people just start paddling the other way and some people never even go out to see it first. So I think it's just that same thing. We're all experiencing the circumstance. Now, again, everyone is experiencing the circumstance differently, but the circumstance is the circumstance. Yeah. Just like that wave, we're all on the same wave. How are we going to ride it? So going back to this, yeah.
I think it's interesting because I think once we get to be an adult, it's like we forget that we didn't know how to do everything to begin with. Like, people are like, oh, I want to do this. And they try it once or twice and it's like, oh, that didn't go so well, so I'm done. And it's like,
yeah.
You can't do, and I see this all the time with clients. They're like, well, I did this once and it didn't really go well. And I'm like, well, what are we good at if we do it once or we do it twice? Some of the stuff we've done hundreds of times and we still suck at it.
Right.
It takes that, we have to keep going and we have to keep trying. And I know everybody's like, I want to learn a new instrument. I want to learn a foreign language. People are going to try for like 2 days and then they're probably going to go, I'm not any good at this. But it's going to take some time to get there, which I think fits so well into this conversation on what is the definition of success. Because I'm picking up a guitar for the very first time, and I'm going to, you know, be a master and play. That ain't gonna happen.
Not gonna happen. Exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing too. I think it helps us sort of put that lens of what is in. I always think of, you know, vision. We want the vision to be inspiring and strategically sound. So becoming a master in guitar is certainly inspiring. Is that actually strategically sound? Let's just maybe back that up a little bit. And again, it can be, you know, is the definition of success the outcome and playing this instrument perfectly, or is it just, you know, sparking my creativity in a different way? You know, today I loved, you know, I'm getting into bed, and today my fingers are sore because I tried the guitar for the first time, and I love being able to tap into my creativity in a different way. Maybe that after you start, you realize you hate guitar and you don't want to do it at all, but you can still have reached your definition of success because you tapped into creativity in a different way, right? And so again, it doesn't make it so focused on the outcome itself. And so when I talk about this idea of the goalkeeper principle, it's that oftentimes when we think about traditional goal setting, or how we sort of, have always done it, a lot of times we set our goals, we pin our goals, like if you imagine like a little, you know, a push pin, we sort of pin our goals to someone or something else. So I'll give you an example from a visionary in Alabama where I used to live. He, at our first meeting, he said, you know what, I want to be top 40 under 40 in Birmingham Business Journal. Okay. So that's a goal, and there's nothing wrong with having that as a goal, but that goal is absolutely pinned to someone and something else, right? Because the editor of the Birmingham Business Journal could have a, you know, niece who is incredible, and maybe she shouldn't have gotten the last spot, but maybe she does. It has nothing to do with you, right? But that's really putting your definition of success in someone else's hands. And you may do everything you could possibly do, and you may not make it. You might be the 41st and or top, you know, the 31st, and you might not make the list. And then if you feel like your definition, your goal is so tied to that one thing and it doesn't happen, then we feel like a failure, right? And there's nothing we can do about it. And so the goalkeeper principle for me is that a goal implies a goalkeeper. So you could be the best soccer, now I know nothing about sports, so forgive me if I use any of these analogies incorrectly, but you can be the best soccer player.
You got it wrong.
Okay, all right, perfect. To everyone watching, I hope that you give me some grace with this one too. So you could be the best soccer player in the world. You could have the best mindset, the best coach, the best training, the best nutrition, the best, footwear. You could have the best of every single thing and do everything that you could possibly do to get out there and make it happen, right? But there's also a goalkeeper who their sole job is to keep you from making that goal. And they might also have the best mindset and the coach and the gear and the training and the breath work and whatever, right? You have all those different things in play. And so no matter how much you might go out there and do everything you can from your end to make the goal, it doesn't necessarily mean you will, because there's somebody standing in that goalpost. Now, when we think about vision, I think of a vision instead of like a goal, the goal that you want to create and a goalkeeper standing in the way of that. The idea is now it's me and a target, right? I have myself and I have a target and I have a bow and I have an arrow. And can I get my mindset better to be able to hit that bullseye more of the time? Absolutely. Can I get a coach? Can I work on my breath? Can I work on my focus? Can I work on my concentration, my skills? Absolutely. But I'm doing all of that, right? Internally. And if I do those things, I am going to start hitting the bullseye again and again and again. If I hit it, it's because of me. And if I don't hit it, it's because of me. So the the target is not a moving target, because I have set my definition of success in a way that it is not always changing. And I have the ability to keep finding ways and keep bringing on resources to help me make that bullseye. But there's not someone standing in front of it who's that extra variable who's going to maybe make it happen or not. And so that's why, again, especially in today's right now, and this is true for any time, but especially might feel more acute right now, instead of having your daily vision be, today I brought on a new client, it might be, it can again be, today I'm really proud that I kept up with my prospecting even when I didn't want to, right? The first one, there's definitely a goalkeeper. You may get that client, you may not. We don't, and especially if it's a daily vision. Now it's a 5-year vision, you can absolutely say, my client base is this much, because you have a lot more time, right? There's a lot more pieces at play. You have a lot more sort of wiggle room and a lot more ways to bring that more under control. But in a day, there's so many variables that can feel like a pressure-filled daily vision that's really in somebody else's hands. You're sort of leaving your definition of success in somebody else's hands. Now, if it's about prospecting, it's you. And if you procrastinate and you don't do, and trust me, I've been there too, then you don't reach your daily definition of success. And you can't blame it on anyone else. And you can't say, oh, I did everything I could and it was taken away from me at the last minute. So that goalkeeper principle, I think, is really critical, because right now it can be so easy to sort of overcompensate and say, oh gosh, we have to totally change what we're doing, our business model, the way we're thinking about things, our family has to totally change the way it operates, our spiritual community, whatever it might be for you. And I think then we can say, all right, the goal is to do X, Y, Z. And sometimes that can actually set us up for failure more than success, because we're sort of stuck with that goalkeeper principle holding us back.
Cool. All right. You did okay on the sports. That wasn't.
Okay. I'm really glad to hear it, because that's a doozy for me for sure.
And it kind of reminds me of what you were talking about earlier before we started the call. You're talking about kind of, how sometimes people make life happen and some people watch it go by. And I don't know if that's similar to what you just shared or kind of different. I took it a little bit differently earlier, so I just wanted to circle back around to that.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I do think they for sure connect. I think what my journey with visioning really started with that concept, because I was 25 at the time. I was working for this amazing organization called Zingerman's, and they are this incredible business, and everything they do starts with a vision. So, most businesses would say, how do we increase sales? How do we increase retention? How do we, right? And most companies, they would say, oh, how do we increase sales? We can do this, 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 this. How do we increase retention? This, this, this. At Zingerman's, they would say, ask those exact same questions. How do we increase sales? How do we increase retention? The first question from everyone else, it wouldn't be an answer, it would be a question, would be, what's the vision? That's their first response to anything is, what's the vision? Because how can you possibly create the plan if you don't know what you're planning for? How can you chart the course if you haven't determined the destination? So I was working for them in all these different capacities. I learned about the power of visioning sort of at an organizational level. And I was really trying to figure out what I wanted my career to look like. And I kept sort of visioning for my career, and I kept thinking about, comparing myself to all these other people in my life and their trajectories, and maybe I should do that, or maybe I should do that. And maybe I should sort of take on their definition of success and how they define it. Maybe that's what I want, but is it? And I was really, really struggling with this. And I remember thinking, I'm 25, I'm going to be 30 in 5 years. What the heck do I want my life to look like? Because I can totally let my life happen to me, and it'll be great. It'll be fine. It'll be, amazing even, right? A lot of us are lucky enough and blessed enough to be in a situation where if we just let life happen, it's still going to be pretty grand. But I knew in that moment, if I did not gain clarity on my long-term vision, then life wouldn't just happen to me. And I wanted to make the decision to make it happen. And it would be scarier and messier and harder, but also be way more exciting and exhilarating and gratifying, fulfilling. And I chose that one. I chose that I wanted to make my life happen. And one of the things I always think about is, when we're working on our vision, short-term or long-term, oftentimes people, for instance, will talk about their health. It's, for me, I'm now 34, so I'm in my second 5-year vision, right? So for June 1st, 2022. And a lot of people might say it's June 1st, 2022, and I'm fitting into the suit that I got married in, and it takes a lot more to get me out of breath these days. And, now I'm that person who always takes the stairs or whatever, right? Now, the thing with this that's really important to remember is that people are working towards that, but no one would sit down and write a vision that said, I'm overweight, not so it takes way less to get me out of breath these days, and I never take the stairs. You would never sit down and intentionally write, it is June 1st, 2022, and I never take the stairs. I'm more overweight than I've ever been. I feel crappy about what I eat. But that happens to people all the time, right? Yeah. And successful people really, people who have the resources, the ability to do it, it happens to people all the time. And so what is that disconnect, right? We're letting life happen to us instead of making it happen. And so when we sit down and we write our vision, even if it's a vision for the day, for a phone call, it is us taking responsibility to say, I have the inherent ability and power to make my day happen or make this call happen instead of letting it happen to me. And that switches from that victim mode or that reactive mode to that survivor mode or that proactive mode, right? And I think that is a huge mind shift, and especially when we can feel so out of control in this time, that is a really powerful thing to remember, that our life, as much as it might seem like it to us right now, our life is not happening to us. We can still make our life happen. And like you said, this is a concept that resonates no matter what, because yes, right now is there, all this stuff with coronavirus happening? Absolutely. But do people deal with crises in their own families that maybe no one else knows about? Absolutely. Are there natural disasters that happen? Absolutely. So, people may feel like this is the first time this is ever happening in the world. It is. This is unprecedented. But at the same time, I can guarantee you everyone on this call has gone through really difficult crises internally, right? Maybe just within themselves, maybe with their families or their loved ones or their business or whatever it might be. And so we were able to ride those waves. And so to remember we have that resilience, I think, is really powerful. And again, it shifts us from feeling like a victim when things are happening to us and we're living life by default, and we're just kind of going into that mode of throwing up our hands and saying, I don't know, so I'm just going to sort of lay down, right? We're able to say, yep, this is scary and it's hard and it's messy and I don't know what to do, but I'm going to reach out. I'm going to ask for help. I'm going to sort of recalculate my GPS, and I am going to change the vehicle if I need to. I'm going to change which road I'm on if I need to, but I still have the ability. No one can take that away, right? No one can ultimately take away your ability to make your life happen. And I think just that in and of itself can be a really powerful reminder right now.
So in order to set ourselves up for our success for the day, how do you recommend we start the day off? What's the best way to get us in this vision mindset, in this positive mindset, in this successful mindset?
So I'm really glad you asked, because again, I think a lot of times right now, who else? My alarm is definitely on my phone, right? I'm sure many people on this call are probably in the same position where inherently the first thing, no? Okay.
Okay, so, and then we'll go back, because yes,
yeah.
But we have a Google.
Oh, right.
So we just tell Google to set the alarm for 5. That way we don't have, the phone's still right there.
Right.
That way we don't have to have the phone. And so, yeah, I was the same way, because I used my alarm on my phone, but I just wanted to share that. So those of you that are using your alarm on your phone, but you don't want to, All right, so sorry, yeah. The phone, which is...
No, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that because I have a little Alexa thing that I never use and I could totally use it for that. I'm so glad you said that. Amazing. Okay.
Well, and then you also can tell her to wake you up nicely, because I know you want to wake up and get up. So you can have her wake you up nicely, or you can set an alarm like, I think we did this on the Google one, where like what special alarms do they have? So they have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle alarm, and you can pick which turtle wakes you up.
Yes.
And it is annoying as all get out. Like I did it once,
Right.
like, oh, heck no, but it's like nice and loud and gets you going. So
it gets you up. Does what it needs to do. Oh my gosh, I love it. I'm just letting my puppy out into the balcony for a second. Okay. So she definitely knows what she wants. She has no bones about deciding. Yeah, you know what success means for me right now, Mom? Going out in the balcony doing everything you don't want me to do right now. So anyway.
All right, so in the morning when we wake up, most of us.
In the morning, most of us, first thing we do is we look at our phones. And right now, and of course, again, we're programmed to immediately see all these notifications, especially a lot of us I know connect with people in other time zones, other parts of the world, country. And so you're starting to get notifications from people. You're seeing, calendar reminders pop up and Facebook things and all this stuff and somebody's birthday that you forgot and whatever, right? And so our instinct anyway is to go in and start to sort of scroll through, and we're immediately in reactive mode. We're immediately reacting to what is right in front of our eyes. But nowadays, oh my gosh, not just are we reacting to the notifications that would normally be in our phone, but now it's news updates and all these other things, right? And some of them are a little bit more on the fear-mongering side of things, and maybe we're seeing updates that really sort of take us into that whirlpool of negativity and scarcity and fear. And some things might be more positive, right? Might be somebody posting a picture on Facebook of the grocery store that actually is really full, right? Because I have to admit, I've been to a lot of grocery stores lately that have been really, really full. Yes, maybe there's some aisles that are a little bare, but you see all these photos people post of these empty shelves, and it's scary. And it's, it's like, hey, can we just take one step back and see that, yes, this one is empty, but there's 18 that are full, right? So all these things, again, just immediately put us in reactive mode. We're immediately feel like we're just like dropped into this whirlpool of everything going on in this world, and we now have to try to get out. But what would it look like if literally, if we use, Google, or we use Alexa, or we just, had a different phone in our alarm and we turn it off and then we set it down, and just for 1 minute, 1 extra minute, you just kept your eyes closed, just 1 minute, right? Just 60 seconds, kept your eyes closed, and you just really saw yourself and felt yourself moving through your day. And again, not rainbows, butterflies, some perfect, wild, crazy fantasy day. That's a whole other type of visualization that can be fun, but we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about you just really sort of tracing your steps before you walk them, if that makes sense. And so you're really just imagining yourself and thinking and seeing and feeling yourself move through your day in the way that you want to move through it. Now, again, that doesn't have to mean, oh, today I'm freaking out when I wake up, but I'm perfectly calm all day. That's probably not realistic. But what would it mean if maybe you imagine yourself reaching out to a friend who's always super supportive and helps you kind of feel better? Or maybe you imagine yourself sort of, reading a book that you love, or watching a show that just makes you laugh because you just need that break in tension. Or what if you are feeling really good and you are innovating in your business and you're actually finding a way to help people in a different way and really make an impact, and that allows you to really keep going with what you want to do. Maybe you are on fire, and so maybe you really picture yourself throughout the day with that energy and leaning into it and moving through it. And so I think that idea of just, again, it just helps you go within before everything is outside of you. And when everything feels like it is outside of you and it's literally swirling around you and you're like in this tornado of craziness, then to really go within yourself first and remind yourself that you have this inner space, you have this inner ability to always go within and always just be able to sort of, again, connect with yourself and see yourself moving through that day. It's the same thing. Maybe, you like this idea of a daily vision, but you just don't see yourself writing something, even if a sentence just doesn't connect with you. Well, doing that daily vision is essentially doing the same thing, because you're sort of seeing yourself move throughout the day and then even all the way through the night until getting back into bed that evening. So it's really the same. So you might do both. I sometimes do both. I sometimes do one or the other. And again, these are both tools in your toolkit. So it doesn't mean if you start visioning for the day today that you suddenly now have to vision every day for the rest of your life. I would hate that. I wouldn't want that. That seems like tension and pressure and overwhelm. But to use it as a tool when I want to use it and I need it, that feels like it's pulling me forward. Visualization every single day, no matter what, rain or shine, because I must, it sounds so compelling. Knowing that I always have visualization as a tool in my back pocket to use it when I need and want to, that feels better. So that's another thing I would just, really remind you is that we have that ability to really just connect with where we want to go and the kind of day we want to create, not based on the results themselves or that goalkeeper principle of what somebody else has control over, but how we want to show up and what we want to cultivate mindset-wise, energy-wise, perspective-wise throughout the day.
Cool. What else you got for us? Anything else you want to share with us? That goes like burning, like, oh my gosh, we need to share this.
Yeah, I think the last thing that I would say is that, so often, certainly with visioning, and I know there's so many other things that all of us are working on that are always sort of in that quadrant of something that is important, but it's not urgent. And I don't know, I wish I need to just make like a little thing that I can always hold up on, because I'm referencing this matrix all the time. But it's sort of like, there's the 4 quadrants, things that are important and urgent, important but not urgent, urgent but not important, not urgent, not important, right? And we all find ourselves in different sort of quadrants of that every single day. And the idea is that most people spend most of their time either on what's urgent but not important, not urgent, or but urgent but not important, urgent and important. Yes. They spend a lot of time in what's urgent and important. And part of it's like, well, duh, obviously, what else should we be doing? If it's urgent and important, of course we should be doing it. But here's the thing, and I spoke with this group of female lawyers, and I was talking about vision, and one of them who is really does a lot of work in the financial planning world as well, had a great analogy for this. And she said, what most people do is they focus on planning for retirement when planning for retirement is important and urgent. Oh my gosh, we do not want to be planning for retirement when it is urgent. We want to be planning for retirement before it's urgent, when it's important but not urgent. And so in our businesses, in our lives, with our families, with our friends, it's the same kind of thing. So often we can do we're only focused on what's important and urgent, but what could we be sort of ahead of the curve on? What could we be doing right now that's not urgent, but it's super important? Those things are actually things that are going to lead to more exponential growth instead of incremental growth. So like we were talking, Tiffany and I were talking before we hopped on, that part of my own vision is to write 3 books, 3 self-published books.
I was just saying books.
right. And for me, it's really easy for me every day to say, oh, well, that's important, but it's not urgent because I got all the other things that I need to do today. And of course, that's just an excuse, but I definitely get into that mindset. Well, right now, what a perfect time for me to say, you know what, let me get ahead of the curve, because once all this ends, I promise you there are other coaches out there who are absolutely writing their books right now, so that when all this settles down, the dust settles, they have that book and they're ready to start booking speaking engagements. There are those people who are going to be out there. And not that I need to be in competition with them, right? It's not me comparing or saying, oh, I need to do that because they're doing it. But it is saying, what chance do I have? What opportunities do I have right now to focus on the things that I no longer have, those certain urgent things that were always happening day to day? Those are going to come back, right? They will come back. But in this period when they're not back yet, what can we do that really is in that quadrant of something that is very, very critically important to you, but it has never been urgent, or you've never been able to find the time to do it? Now is the time. You've got some more time. And some people are sitting here saying, I don't have more time. I have less time. My business is booming, or, my kids are home now and they used to be at activities and that was my time, right? But we still have those nooks and crannies of our day. We still have those little bits and pieces of our day where we can bring in those things and bring it back into that quadrant, to be doing those things before they become urgent. Do those things that are important and not urgent before they become important and urgent. That's really, again, helps us get ahead of the curve.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I think that's some great stuff. And our goal today was how long-term thinking can help you ride the wave of uncertainty. And I think, this is definitely things we can start today. And here's what we want to create moving down the road. So you have something coming up on Wednesday. You want to tell us about that?
Yes, and I thought of one other quick analogy that I wanted to share, if that's okay. It's directly related to waves, so I thought I would kind of close us out with that. It just came to mind. There is another visionary organization that I work with in Indiana. So they do some incredible things around employee engagement and organizational health, and their leader, he's definitely a visionary, but his whole team really has that mindset as well. And he was telling us this about this experience that he had, where he was at a water park with his wife and some other friends, and his wife and the friend were in one tube. It was on one of those like a wave pool kind of thing. They were in one tube and he was in another. And all he was doing, and he used this word, which was threat scanning for threats, right? So he was in his thing and he was super rigid and he was just, all he could see was right in front of us and scanning for the waves that were coming, scanning for the waves, scanning for the waves. Kept getting bowled over by him, right? He wasn't having any fun. He was totally, his muscles were really rigid. He was tight, right? And then he kind of just, for whatever reason, looked over, and he and his wife in the same exact wave pool, same exact circumstance, were having a blast. So he shifted his gaze to the horizon, right? He shifted his gaze upward. He started looking beyond just that threat right in front of him. He loosened up a little bit, and he just started riding the waves. And it changed everything for him. And again, that's what I think is so important to remember. The circumstance is the circumstance. We are all in this, and absolutely are people being affected in different ways, 100%. So we're not minimizing that at all. But what we are saying is we're in that same wave pool, and we can be the ones that are super rigid, scared, freaked out, scanning for threats right in front of us constantly. And what are we going to do? If you're looking for threats, you're going to find them.
Yeah.
Or we can be those people who are letting ourselves lean into it a little bit more, having a little bit more flexibility, being a little bit more nimble, shifting our gaze to the long term, shifting our gaze to the horizon instead of what's right in front of us, and being able to actually, say, yeah, there are crazy waves coming at me and whatever, and there's hair in my face and whatever, but I'm actually having fun with it. And so again, not to minimize the real, very real and true challenges that are happening right now, but at the same time saying, if we are in a place, we are all in that wave pool together, and let's loosen up a little bit. Let's stop scanning for threats in front of us and lift our gaze to the horizon, focus a little bit more on that long term. And that really, really can be so powerful during this time.
Cool. Awesome. Wednesday.
So yes, Wednesday. Thank you so much for asking. So I believe it's in the chat. Did I post it? Is it in there?
Yes. Well, you put in the chat to me.
Okay.
I'll put it in the chat to everybody.
Okay, awesome. So I am starting to do virtual seminars, 60-minute virtual seminars once a week, and they are the same exact one every week, but it is all about really clarifying the vision for your future, closing the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And I would love to invite you guys. It's really about this idea that, we all have these endless decisions to make, but how do we filter out the distractions from the opportunities, especially right now? There's so many things happening. How do we filter? What are the things that really are opportunities that we could jump onto right now? And what are maybe the distractions really getting in our way? And so, we're going to talk about the 5 roadblocks that are holding you back from clarity. The key differences, between, we talk about mission and vision, strategic plan, how do they all connect? Again, how do we really shift into that proactive mode and really create more intentional action toward creating the future you want? And really also thinking about, our own internal resistance to change, to creating the future we want, and how we sort of tip the scales. So that's going to be happening on Wednesday. And I sent the Eventbrite link. The investment is $20, but I have a special code for you guys. And so if anyone wants to just, get a little bit more, go a little bit further with the vision and concept and join me again, I would love to have you guys there, and excited to keep sharing these ideas and keep lifting each other up.
And I put the link and the code into the chat box.
Okay, perfect. Awesome.
And I like the code. It's SOCKS 2020.
Yeah, SOCKS 2020. And I think it's all caps. I don't know if it matters, but just in case.
I did not make it all caps.
Okay, awesome.
Now
and it's from noon to 1 p.m. PST. So I hope you guys can make it, and there will be other dates as well. I'm going to have some virtual full-day visioning workshops coming up too, so I'll keep you posted on that. But in the meantime, if any of you guys, if this has sparked any ideas for you guys, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always here for questions. I'm doing more Facebook Lives and things like that as well. So, if anyone has questions, I can always do a Facebook Live on it and then tag you and say, here's the answer to your question. So just know I'm here thinking about you guys. You have these tools, and anything else that, I can do to help support. I'm excited for you guys to be able to utilize these things to help you feel like you are creating your future instead of letting it happen to you.
Thank you so very much for coming on, for being my first guest in this series, and for helping us create that vision, even if it's just for today.
I love it. Thank you so much, Tiffanie. I so appreciate it. I'm so honored, pardon me, that I got to be your first guest. So I'm excited to tune in for the future guests. And thank you guys so much for being here today. And we will all connect again soon.
All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you, guys.
Laura said thank you.